I'm Val Jonas. Thank you for joining us today, and Phil, thanks for organising this. It's a great series of presentations. I'm CEO of Risk Decisions Group, and in terms of follow-on, it's a nice segue from Michel's presentation where he ended up saying you're in construction intelligence, we're in risk intelligence. And today I'm just going to show you a brief and brand new exciting addition to our Predict software, which is a dynamic risk analysis capability. And the whole point of developing this new capability is that in order to make good risk-based decisions, you need intelligent decision analysis. And that's what we're going to have a look at. So I'm going to introduce Risk Decisions. We're a company that just works in risk. We actually have been working with Femin for many years, and we helped way back in the distant future when they were trying to decide whether they would build a tunnel or a bridge. Everybody thought it was going to be a bridge, and it turned out that wasn't the decision. So interesting, there were a lot of environmental and financial and other factors that were fed into the decision-making process. Now, we have a philosophy on risk where we see risk as a powerful and positive capability which allows you to power your organization. It's not just a negative thing. And we help organizations to create that positive vision and work out how to connect risk across their organizations, because most of the organizations we're working with are working on very, very complex projects, mega projects. They're looking at risk across their organization. And in order to make good decisions, you really need to understand all the different perspectives, pull together the various project elements, program elements, portfolio elements, all the way up to business level. And connecting risk across organizations is the way it underpins making smarter decisions. And then finally, spreading and engaging the whole organization in making sure that they're making good risk-based decisions, whether it's at a high level strategic, a middle level functional, or a lower level coalface view of the world. Whatever perspective you've got, we're helping people make smart decisions. Some of our customers, as you can see, there's Femin's in there, pretty much all global, obviously some government organizations, mostly across defense, aerospace, infrastructure, construction, utilities, many of whom we've worked with for not just years, but decades. Through various incarnations of risk management capability and risk software products. So today I'm going to be looking at a new feature in our Predict software. And our focus, even though we've had our Predict software has been out there being used by our customers since 1987, it's gone through many reincarnations, and today we have a completely new build integrated set of risk products. So you can see here we've got the core risk capture, risk database, able to pull all of your uncertainty and risk together across a large organization, large complex projects, operations, all the way through to asset management and so on your risks on assets. We have integrated risk analysis, and here we're looking at Monte Carlo capability on the bottom left. We are pushing it out on tablets out to organizations who are working on site. But today I'm going to show you the brand new capability, the new dynamic risk analysis capability that we have. Okay, so let me just take a step back and talk to you about where this new capability came from. So we're working with a customer who a very large infrastructure organization who have global reach, and they have a new digital transformation project they embarked on 2 or 3 years ago, and they wanted to engage and include risk in that digital transformation. And they started talking to us about how they not just looked at risk from a project view, but looked at it more broadly. And they showed us this picture and said, why can't we do that? Why can't we see how risks are linked together, how they impact on each other? How do we actually visualize risks? Because too much of the time, risks sit in a risk register. It's very hard to understand the meaning of risks if you're just looking at a list of them. So we started looking at this kind of capability, and over a period of about 6 months, we worked with this customer to come up with a new capability that looks like this. So this visualization takes into account not just the risk likelihood and impact, but it also looks at risk velocity, because these days risk is part of everybody's lives. It's part of our personal lives, part of our organization's lives. We actually need to understand not just how big is the risk, what kind of uncertainties, identifying the risks out there. We ought to know what are we going to do about it, and also how fast it's going to impact, so that when we decide what actions we're going to take, how manageable this risk is, we need to take into account how long have we got before it's going to hit us, what kind of actions do we need to put in place, and how soon do we need to get on with those. So we actually designed this kind of picture with this customer, where you can see at a glance how big the risks are, the size of the risk. Their velocity is shown by the thickness of the line around them. The risk links allow us to work out what impacts, if one risk happens, what could be the knock-on effect of that risk, what's the next risk that could happen, and how much of a chain is there in that reaction. When you're looking at this kind of thing, you can see the risks that have a lot of links. You'd probably be very interested in those risks because they have quite a big reach across the organization. And the last thing we did was to be able to give people the option of slicing and dicing the risks. So here we're looking at these by geopolitical category, but you could look at it in any way you like. And that's represented by these groupings. There's these rings around the risk. Those are categories of risk. So I'm going to show you how it works in the Predict software now. So I'll just switch over. So this is our Predict risk controller system. And there are two main ways that we identify and look at risks. We can look at them by folder structure. So we'll start with that. And here I've got a demo of our new DRA capability, and the kind of things that our customers are looking at a top-down level is what are the big hitting risks that could hit their organization, disruption factors, key things that are being identified around the world. And in this example, I've shown 3 different groups of risk. We've got a list of risks from the World Economic Forum. So we can see here things like major cyber attack. That's very relevant from the session this morning. Really interesting. As Phil said, a third of people on the call said that they'd had a cyber incident in the last year. But there's all sorts of things, the US-China trade situation. Of course, we've got global pandemic here. So there's all sorts of things that you might decide are influential and could have an impact on your organization. Then we've got another folder that we've got sector risks in. So in this case, this might be very pertinent to you. You might be very heavily reliant on supply chain. You could be sourcing things from North Korea or various different, or from South Korea, and the conflict there might be an issue. Similarly, going down another level, rather than just sector risks, you might actually have specific corporate risks. So this is just the way you decide in your organization to gather these high-level risks. And while I've looked at each of these in the folder, if you look at a higher level, it brings them all together. So we've all got all of those risks in one place. Now, this is where we put together this new dynamic risk analysis capability. So when I'm looking at this group of risks, I can choose to create a dynamic risk assessment report. When I create the report, I've got a number of options. So I can look at it by different criteria. So here, I'm going to choose geopolitical, but I could choose functional area. We could use, I'm going to come back and show you one by geographical region shortly. We could look at it by supply chain, it could be supplier type, level 1, level 2, so on. So it's entirely up to you how whatever your business, your organization is focused on, whatever is important to you, you create these categories in order to look at perspectives. So I'm going to choose geopolitical. I can either look at these as current risk or target risk score and velocity. So I can look at it, the position we're in now, or can I look at the position of where we want to be or where we're assessing we can get to if we do our mitigation actions. And I can choose to save a layout if I wish to. So that's what I'm going to do here. So if I run this analysis, it's going to generate me a report. You can see this little notification here. Everything is integrated in Predict. So you don't go somewhere else for your reporting. You look at the data. What you see is what you get. When you do a report, it does that report of the things that you're looking at. So here's my dynamic risk assessment I've just generated. So I'm going to open that up. And this is showing me the links between all of those risks, the size of the risks, the velocity, the grouping. So if we, why would you use this? Well, we see this as an amazing place to start risk conversations. It's really hard to get people engaged in risk, and it's particularly hard when you're just looking at individual risks. But when you're looking at a group of risks and the effect they can have on each other, the linkage, there's all sorts of things that you can start to discuss, including when you're trying to make a big decision. So here we can see supply chain failure linked to our key supplier bankruptcy. We've got flash flooding, very big thing in major infrastructure projects, possibly linked to major landslides and so on. So this is a high-level view, top-down. I want to look at another view. So if instead of looking at folder structure, we could create our own risk list, and I've done this by, in my enterprise, I want to look at my road projects. So I've got 3 major road projects in here. And what I want to do is look at those by geographical location, by country. So I've created a list that combines those project and program risks with my global economic forum sector and corporate risks into this set of items. So here I'm looking at a list of risks, and once again I can create my dynamic risk assessment. In this case, I want to look at the split by country. Run that. Once again, it's generating that report. Here we go, notification, and I'm going to open that one up. Now, one of the things that you do want to do sometimes is you want to move this stuff around. So you can go, okay, well, major cyber attack, why is that risk all on its own? What about here? We've got Canada. I might want to play around with this stuff. So we can move all of this around. We can double click on items, hover over them. You can see the risk impact when it comes up on the screen here. So there's all sorts of interactive things we can do in order to make this more visual and more easy to understand and have discussions around. So to wrap up, what we've done is created this new visualization to start risk conversations. We think that it's very important for organizations to understand risk better, to have more risk conversations, and as I say, just like Phil talked about construction intelligence, we talk about risk intelligence. If you're interested in looking at this more and how a positive view of risk can help you thrive and support leadership in your organization, please do download our white paper. You can get that from our website. riskdecisions.com. And if you want to ask any questions or follow up, then please do get in touch with me. You can link to me on LinkedIn, email me, and be very happy to answer questions or have a discussion about how we might be able to help you.